earliest subjects of tinkering were alarm clocks. I couldn't have been 4 or 5 and easily ruined half a dozen of them. So I've messed around with things as soon as I figured out what tools could be used for. Still like that.
Skip is one of the most unique people I know in an industry filled with unique people.
Oh my God! Even put what this man represents in words. I mean, he's Albert Einstein with a kilt and a larger-than-life, quiet personality.
Skip's kilt is, as ludicrous as this is going to sound, completely utilitarian.
It's just far more comfortable to not wear pants.
You'll show up at a gig and you'll go, hey, could you just plug this in for a second and see what you think? And you plug it in and you're like, oh, I don't want to play my bass now. I want to play this.
Music has always been present in my life. I had an instrument available to me ever since I was 7. So having strings under my fingers is something I essentially always remember. My musical background, training specifically, is vocal. My vocal range isn't very broad, so I needed to tailor my instruments to my physical limitations. So I started with guitars and discovered that I was beaten to that there were tenor guitars that were already there, and that delighted me. And as I got further into the process, I found that I didn't have a bass that was there. A traditional 5-string bass was shy of that by a whole step. And no instrument I could find, nor variations in strings would get me to that whole step. And I started with other measures and other means to try and do this. There were pedals and effects boxes that you can use as octavers to shift things. They fall apart when you push an instrument low. And so, given that, and that there was no other way to get there, I redesigned the instrument.
In this industry of people who are like, it must be this way, Skip is, why?
I liken accommodating the instruments to be friendly to my voice to taking my parents' alarm clock apart. The alarm clock was perfectly fine. Guitars are perfectly fine. But there are a number of things in each of those instances that could be done better. And the only reason I know that is because I peeked under the hood and I started taking it apart and I started putting it back together.
These are out-of-the-box thinkers, and the way they go about life is asking the hard questions and pushing the right buttons and making it happen.
I felt like if this solved my problem, it would solve somebody else's. And so I took what I thought out and executed on, and I decided to try and sell guitars.
I remember the first time I played one of Skip's basses, put this thing into my hands, and again, I'm a little guy, so I'm used to an instrument feeling a certain way when I put it across my leg and put my hand on the neck, and there was just a lot of neck. It just kind of kept going.
The Quake is essentially 2 frets longer than a traditional instrument, and that led to an extended scale length of very nearly 6 inches beyond a traditional instrument.
And so I went all the way down to the first fret, and I could almost get all 4 fingers in that span, which is like unheard of.
Until it was actually built, I didn't know whether it was a practical solution. Delight of delights, when it was done, the Quake was amazingly simple to play.
And so as I started to play, it was just effortless. It was looking at a Camaro, getting behind the wheel, and all of a sudden being in a Ferrari.
It gives a voice to traditional tunings and pitches that is unrivaled sonically. It's different.
By changing one element in design, he basically opened this huge Pandora's box of design.
And so, by default, in designing this instrument and creating this instrument, I needed to learn how to design strings. There are a few things that make Kalium strings different than others.
With bass strings, harmonics get very, very hard to do as you go lower. With Kalium, you can play harmonics all over the place.
But I think one of the biggest factors that is unique to my strings is that the strings live most of their lives straight. Metal is elastic to a degree, but it has a memory to a degree. And you coil a manufactured string, even for a little while, you compress one side of the string and you expand the other, and the string remembers, and you pay a sonic price for that. While my strings are in my possession, I make a point of them never being in that state. It is what provides the sound that they have, the life that they have, the longevity that they have. I could be in retail stores if I thought differently about this. I can't subject what I make to that. I tried best I could, as I understood the internet, to make my idea available. I became a topic of discussion in a chat room and found the conversation. And one of the critiques leveled at my idea was that this is a grand solution to a non-existent problem. And that haunts me to this day. When 7 and 8 and 9 string guitars became a thing, new problems arose. And I happened to be a part of the environment when they became popular, and my answers applied.
And because of that, bass players are actually starting to think much more like composers, because they're able to use much more of their low frequencies, their low end.
Solo artists have embraced me to the point that instruments that might not otherwise exist now do. And solo bassists seem to have this undauntedness to them, where an instrument that is generally a part of the foundation, certainly a part of the background, are the only voice you hear. Any instrumentalist that has the stones to do that really has the courage and the inspiration to do and be utterly different. David Brumet and Chris Cardone and I threw in and created a line of bass strings that essentially makes everything that's going on now possible. And this thing would be nothing without them. What happens next for Kalium is a return to where we started. Musical instruments are really the foundation for everything, and there are several that will exist in very, very short order to explore further voicings and playability and applications that we're still trying to contribute to.
At no point is this dude gonna stop. He's not gonna stop what he's doing.
There's plenty more to see and to do and to be and to make. And as long as people ask, I'll keep giving it.